this particular document is a document that does not largely represent the views of the people of Kenya. It is a political document. But that does not take away the fact that there are certain proposals which deserve attention. But let us look at the proposals from two perspectives. Most of them are not constitutional. One, as to whether one will pay the help loan, that is not a constitutional issue. Whether there is a tax holiday, that is not a constitutional issue.
Absolutely.
Many of the things that you find there are cleverly introduced to create the impression that these amendments are going to benefit every sector of the society. And they are designed to camouflage what I consider to be the real intention of the political class. Which are these? One, to expand the executive.
Yes.
And to expand the executive, we are being told that this is going to introduce inclusivity. I do not agree. When you create the office of the Prime Minister and you create the office of the two Deputy Prime Ministers and you create the leader of the opposition, how does that in and of itself create inclusivity in a country where ethnicity has become the way of mobilizing the population? In my view, those who think in that direction, and with due respect to them, think that an arrangement such as that gives them the ability to marshal the leaders of the 5 major tribes, let's be honest, and therefore to attract votes and to win the presidency, the vice presidency, and the prime ministership. I'm not persuaded. I want to be persuaded that inclusivity is dealt with in that way. Number 2, it purports to address the question of gender rule, which is an affirmative action response. They lose the philosophy of affirmative action. Affirmative action does not exist for all times. Affirmative action is time sensitive. When you now introduce seats and you say you eliminate the women-only seat and you increase the number of seats to 360, how do you guarantee that you'll achieve that? And I'm not persuaded that that is not the route to take, that is the route to take. Then you say that you are now enhancing the size of the Senate to 94 and you are going to have women in that way. You then make affirmative action permanent because remember, it is now women who are historically disadvantaged. In the next 50 years, it may be men who are disadvantaged. So if you look at the constitutional proposals, in my view, they fall below the standard. And the document is very poorly written. Those who have read it will tell you it's a very poorly written document. The other issue that they deal with is the question of devolution. And this is meant to be a sweetener to the governors and the people of Kenya. They are saying we are going to allocate 35% of the national budget to devolved units. Nobody does that.
Up from 15.
What you do is you devolve functions. Once you devolve functions, money follows functions. You don't devolve money. Because it's like telling your child or your son or daughter, I used to give you pocket money of 15,000 shillings. I'm now increasing it to 35,000. To do what with? Devolve functions. And when you devolve functions, the money will follow those functions. Once again, they fail to appreciate the model. So in a nutshell, there are certain things that look good, but on the constitutional proposals, I think they have missed the mark. And the document ought to be re-examined further so that it is cleaned. In fact, it pains me, as it must pain a Kenyan, when a few politicians say, we cannot reopen debate. How can you possibly say that? This is a document that is expected to address the interests of Kenyans who live now and Kenyans in the next generation. How can you arrogate to yourself the monopoly of power and wisdom and say that Kenyans cannot debate their document? What are we in a hurry for? Kenya is not being wound up. We may have the referendum now or choose to have it in the year 2022. In my own view, I hold the view that the right time to have a referendum is to add a second day to the election of the year 2022. The other thing that we are not talking about, is it going to be an omnibus referendum or a single issue referendum? Because we don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater so that we vote yes or no. If there are multiple issues, let us have questions posed on those so that we reject the things that we don't want and endorse the things that we think that are desirable. So the intentions in the BBI may be noble, but those who are marketing the BBI are doing it, in my view, so arrogantly that they are going to make the Kenyans throw the baby with the bathwater unless they know something that we do not know. But out of every 10 Kenyans that I'm talking to, 7 are saying we are going to vote against this document. Forget the newspaper reports about MCAs in this part of the world, religious people in this part of the world. Those ones, many of them represent nobody. The real Kenyans are now concerned with very mundane issues of survival. And when they hear that we are going to spend nearly 14 billion to conduct a referendum, they are saying, but we can't pay salaries in the counties. We don't have medicine. They say they would provide us with masks in the school. They are not there. Those who supplied goods and services to governmental institutions have not been paid for donkey years. They are saying this is placing the cart before the horse.